federally regulated by the state of Maine. So I'm thinking this regulation should run through the state of Hawaii. So I'm both pro and con. I'm thinking that it's necessary because there's just way too many people eating way too many fish. We need to have a sustainable resource. Mahalo.
Good afternoon. My name is Brooks Takenaka, and I'm a manager at the United Fishing Agency, also known as the Honolulu Fish Auction. I am strongly opposed to the proposed expansion of the monument. The government entities that regulate our Hawaii fisheries already have rules and regulations in place that protect endangered species in the local fish population. According to the biological opinions from NOAA, no harm has occurred in the monument area as a result of fishing those waters. It is the job of the federal agencies such as NOAA and the Western Pacific Regional Fisheries Management Council to manage the Hawaii fishery, and I think they're doing a great job. Let these agencies and those who fish the water sustainably continue to protect this natural resource. Another outstanding achievement is the fact that the Hawaii fishery has scored 94% for compliance with the United Nations FAO Code of Conduct for Responsible Fisheries. This code is the world's only international agreement on what constitutes a responsible fishery capable of producing sustainable wild seafood. For Hawaii, this means we can count on fresh local fish, which helps Hawaii feed its citizens high-quality protein and maintain its reputation for having a much sought-after regional cuisine that locals and visitors alike demand. Hawaii has demonstrated an ability to care for one of its greatest natural resources, just like our ancestors did. There is no scientific evidence to support any additional conservation benefits to be gained by expanding the no-fishing zone beyond its current limit. Thus, I believe any further expansion is wholly unwarranted. I realize there are differences of opinion on this issue, which is why I request that before any decision is made to expand the existing monument, that there be a complete analysis of the conservation benefits and the economic input in Hawaii. Let's get the facts together, share that information with Hawaii's people, and let the people of Hawaii give input into this decision. After all, this decision will be permanent. It's only fair that those of us who live here have a say. Thank you.
Aloha mai kākou. Malia ki papa from the island of Hawaii, Mokuokeawe, West Hawaii, North Kona from Pohoihoi. Because I want to be mindful of people's times, I'm just going to go ahead and read the testimony on behalf of the group that I'm representing. Dear Mr. President, we write this letter as a collective group called Kaikuleana, an organization of various leeward coastal communities on the island of Hawaii. We recently met to discuss the possible expansion of the Papahanaumokuakea Marine National Monument. We are strongly in favor of the proposed expansion. The members of Kaikuleana are committed to the protection of the reefs, the abundance of fish, sea mammals, and seabirds, and the quality of our ocean water. We believe the expansion of the monument will increase and improve habitat for monk seals, sea turtles, whales, dolphins, seabirds, sharks, billfish, and tuna. 110 seamounts, which are hotspots of diversity, will be protected along with submerged reefs and banks. Extractive activities such as seabed mining and commercial fishing will be curtailed. The monument encompasses an area sacred to Hawaiians where all life began and where spirits return after death. This cultural resource deserves increased protection and attention. The spiritual connection with our home, Hawaii, the youngest island, must be strengthened. The proposed expansion will serve to accomplish this goal. Mahalo nui.
So we'd just like to acknowledge Mr. Alan Yamamoto, the State Director for Senator Mazie Hirona's office. Alan, do you have a statement you would like to read?
If it's just these two people here, I can go after them.
Okay, fine. Well, actually, it's going to be 4 people.
Yeah, I'll go wait.
Okay.
Thank you.
So then, Mike, just real quickly, if you're driving a Chevy Express White J&R car truck, 802 TVB, there are many people in the parking lot very angry with you right now. So,
Not me. Good evening. My name is Mike Goto. I've been with the Honolulu Fish Auction for the past 9 years. I'm also 31 years old, which in my industry makes me a baby. No offense, Brooks. I bring that up because I look around the room and I see a lot of young faces, and that makes me very pleased, even despite the fact that they're probably in the opposite corner as me. I bring up my tenure, and specifically not just my 9 years with the auction, but my current 4 years with the Western Pacific Fishery Management Council, as well as my 3 years with the Western Central Pacific Fishery Commission as a U.S. Commissioner. I only bring that up not to promote myself, but to show all the young people here that you really have to get involved in the process to know it, and not just take somebody's word on it. It really is a complex management system in which we work with. It also is what makes us the most sustainable and responsible fishery in the world. And I'm paying my dues now. I'm traveling all over the Pacific under the U.S. delegation, really trying to represent who we are and what we do. And I implore all of you guys, young men and women, making me feel real old right now, that I really encourage you to get involved in the process. Again, not just listen to one person's opinion about it. You guys, this is my future just as much as it is yours. We need to protect it, and I'm telling you all now, I would not be doing what I do now if I didn't believe that we were doing the best possible thing that we could and providing the best possible seafood for all of us. And I can tell you right now, the only fact that I know is that if we do continue to constrict our U.S. fisheries, the only for sure thing is that foreign imports are going to start flowing in here like crazy, and you will be eating fish not sustainably or responsibly caught. Guys, please take that into account. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Luis Picaro. I understand that this is a very controversial topic, but I am in strong support of increasing the size of the monument. We need to start thinking about the long term and not just the money. Money is not going to bring back species that are lost or the damage that can be done to our marine species. This is a valuable resource to not just us, but the entire world. There's nothing else like this in the world. We need to protect it, not for just our generations, but the future generations. Thank you.
Thank you and good afternoon. My name is Sean Martin. I'm president of the Hawaii Longline Association. The Hawaii Longline Association joins others who strongly oppose further expansion of the Papahanaumokuakea Marine Monument. After losing sugar and pineapple, the Hawaii Longline fishery is the largest and most valuable fishery in Hawaii and produces the most valuable food product in Hawaii as well. It also is the most comprehensively managed and monitored longline fishery in the Pacific. The EEZ around the Northwest Hawaiian Islands is the source of $10 million annually in landed fish value, fish worth about $30 million annually in the Hawaii retail markets. Approximately 80% of the fish landed by the Hawaii longline fishery stays in the state, supporting both local and the visitor industry. Hawaii seafood is most certainly one of the signature foods enjoyed by visitors and locals alike. The Hawaii longline fishery adheres to international regulations and management and quotas which fluctuate up and down based on stock assessments and projections done 1 year in advance, or several years in advance. Recent years have produced unprecedented catch rates, which will most likely be reflected in future allocations. These scientifically based quotas are created with the best available science and not advocacy-based science, and are applied wherever American boats fish, unlike other countries who apply quotas only in international waters. The area considered for expansion has traditionally accounted for 5 to 12%, or approximately 2 million pounds of catch, and varies from year to year. U.S. fisheries, including the longline fishery, have for decades been effectively managed under U.S. law. The Hawaii longline fishery is held up as a model longline fishery, which has been acknowledged as a leader in developing innovative methods to reduce bycatch. The fishery also is a source for nearly all of the government-validated scientific information produced for longline fisheries. A monument designation is and would be forever and impede the adaptive local input indefinitely. Is this something the local people are willing to give up? And finally, the expansion of the monument would threaten a way of life and the economic vitality of Hawaii fisheries it represents. This would be a terrible legacy. Thank you.
Aloha mai kākou. My name is William Aila. Aloha Alan, Robin, Andy, and Alan. First I want to say, I don't know if Senator Akaka is still in the audience, but we love you, Senator Akaka. Okay? I also want to thank Senator Brian Schatz for being very bold and for putting forth a proposal that was very bold but also protected the small boat fisheries on Oahu and mainly Kauai and Ni'ihau. And then I'm going to turn my comments to you as representatives of President Obama. President Obama, be bold. The storyline for the last 3 months in Hawaii has been the long line argument hasn't worked. It hasn't worked for a couple of reasons. The majority of the longline fishing is currently occurring outside of the EEZ. The quotas are filled early every year, including this year. So the story morphed, and so the importance of longline catch to local consumers didn't work. The highest quality tuna is exported outside of Hawaii with a little bit served here, but it's supplemented by carbon monoxide treated tuna. And so the argument that we have to land more fish to sell here is not working because we eat the crappy imported tuna. Not true. The active, hey brother, you had time for talk?
Could we please allow the speaker to
The
speak?
native Hawaiian access argument didn't work because when OHA did the analysis, every permit that was applied for by a native Hawaiian since 2002 was granted. The transparency argument shouldn't work because this is precisely why the Antiquities Act was created. It was created so that a president, when faced with differing opinions, had the authority to make bold decisions that was best for the entire country, and in this case, the entire state of Hawaii. It's this bold decision that we're counting on President Obama to make to protect these bioculturally very important resources for future generations. We once again ask the president to be bold because we live in a time when climate is changing. We live in a time when the world is changing. We live in a time when the resources don't only belong, the fishing resources don't only belong to fishermen. They belong to future generations, just like that young baby that was held in the hands of that mama here, asking the president to be bold because climate change, Mr. President, requires bold decisions. Thank you.
Go ahead.
First of all, I want to apologize for not being here promptly like the rest of you. But I do have a statement from Senator Mazie Hirono that I would like to read, and we will also insert it for the record, Alan. Open debate and transparency are essential when making informed policy decisions. These principles are particularly important as we consider the proposed expansion of Papahanaumokuakea Marine National Monument using the Antiquities Act as a vehicle for expansion. In January 2016, I received a copy of a letter signed by 7 members of the Native Hawaiian community asking President Obama to start a discussion about expanding the Papahanaumokuakea Marine National Monument, which would create the largest protected area on the earth. In May, the White House Council on Environmental Quality and other federal agencies came to Hawaii to meet with a number of local stakeholders about a possible expansion of the monument. The public meetings that are taking place on Oahu and Kauai this week will allow the Hawaii community to provide further input. Since this process has been initiated, I have been engaged with stakeholders across the state, and they have expressed strong opinions about whether we should expand Papahanaumokuakea Marine National Monument. Some have raised environmental concerns, others economic concerns, and still others cultural concerns. Some are in strong support, and some are in strong opposition. President Obama now has a proposal from Senator Schatz to expand Papahanaumokuakea utilizing the Antiquities Act. The Antiquities Act allows the president to set aside for protection, in quotes, historic landmarks, historic and prehistoric structures, and other objects of historic or scientific interest, close quote. Since the Antiquities Act allows presidential action without a formal process applying federal environmental laws, I appreciate the Obama administration's effort to engage the Hawaii community in the decision-making process. As recently as today, I spoke with the managing director of the Council on Environmental Quality, and we both agreed that listening to Hawaii's people through these public meetings is important. We agreed to connect again after the public meetings. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service will provide key input to the president on this decision. The administration's analysis should include projections, including the management resources and tools that will be needed to effectively administer an expanded area, the technical and scientific benefits of such an expansion, and economic considerations. While there is no requirement that federal agencies make their analysis available to the public before any final decision by the president under the Antiquities Act, I believe it would serve the public's interest for this information to be made available. Access to the same information will enable all of us to understand the basis for the president's decision on the expansion of Papahanaumokuakea Marine National Monument, especially as his decision will permanently affect livelihoods and our environment in Hawaii. Thank you.
So we have a few more elected representatives to speak. Senator Laura Thielen will say a few words, and then followed by Representative Chris Lee. So if you two can.
Aloha. Sorry about having my back to folks. Thank you very much for coming out today. I support the expansion of Papahanaumokuakea, but I would like to explain something to people because I keep hearing there's a concern that the state would be losing some of our authority to the federal government. In addition to being a state senator, I'm the former chair of the Department of Land and Natural Resources. I was the second chair after the monument was first came into place. The state of Hawaii shares jurisdiction over our waters with the federal government from our shore to 3 miles out. But once you go past 3 miles, the state of Hawaii has no authority. It is exclusively the federal government. There's one exception, Papahanaumokuakea. When that became a marine national monument, the federal government committed to co-manage that area with the state of Hawaii. That means, unlike any other part of the ocean more than 3 miles out, the state of Hawaii and Hawaii residents have a say. The area that we're talking about expanding the monument to right now is exclusively managed by the federal government. Every decision for that area is made exclusively by the federal government. The state does not have a say. It's important that we have a say over that expanded ocean area. A lot of the discussion today has been about fish, but I want you to start thinking about our oceans over the next 50 years, the next 100 years. Think of how much development took place in the last 100 years. Think of how many inventions have been created, the new types of uses that are taking place on land that are going to start going out into the deep waters. Wind farms, ocean energy, resource mining, other things that have nothing to do with fishing. If we don't expand this monument, the state will have no say about whether those future uses are permitted in that area. They could be culturally offensive. They could be offensive to our values as a state. You could have concerns about them, but are you going to have a federal representative near you that you can go talk to as compared to your state legislator or your governor? Our input would not be heard. So we need to be thinking about more than just fishing. We need to be thinking about why we as a state, we as Hawaii residents want to have some say over the uses in that expanded area. And that is one of the reasons why I support it. I would say to the federal government, though, I think it is an excellent idea that we put OHA into the agreement as a full co-manager. Right now, the co-management role of OHA is done because that's what the state wants. But it's appropriate for them to have a former role given what they do. And I would ask that the federal government provide the support and the resources to be able to implement the management plans for the full expanded monument. And then also on behalf of the many fishermen that we have here who do follow the law, who do follow the regulations, if NOAA could put the resources and support into the enforcement of the illegal fisheries that are operating offshore and negatively impacting, the fishermen we have that are abiding by the law. So thank you for your time and consideration.
Aloha. My name's Chris Lee. I represent the same district, ironically, as Senator Thielen, which includes the northwestern Hawaiian Islands and the area in question today. I'm here both as a state representative on behalf of our district, also as chair of the Energy and Environmental Protection Committee in the state legislature, but more than that, as a resident of the state, and hopefully, relatively soon, as a future father. And I come here today because this is a question of our future. While controversial in this room, it is not an issue that is controversial in our community. There is, from my estimation, and from talking with people at meetings and hearing from people and phone calls and emails to the office, overwhelmingly supported because it looks ahead. It's something that I think everybody in Hawaii can get behind because we have a responsibility as residents here. We have what we call a kuleana. It is our obligation not only to look out for ourselves, but to look out for those who come after us. And we're talking not just about an ecosystem here today. We're talking about a symbol of hope for the rest of our world's oceans, taking steps that would be a model for other places that we don't control, doing what we can with our limited ability to sustain ourselves, our economy for the next generation is something that we have a responsibility to do. We've had many national parks dedicated over the years through this same process. And we look back today and we are happy. We are incredibly proud as a nation of them. So this proposal before us today, which is a compromise, which is not what is ideal, but is a compromise, is exactly how the process is supposed to work, and is exactly a step forward that we need to take to ensure the continuity of our ecosystem, the sustainability of our economy, and the sustainability of our culture and the heritage that we hold dear here in Hawaii, because we owe it to ourselves and our children, most of all, to do so. and there's nothing more important than that. Thank you.
All right, we're back to our 5 and 5. So to the microphone on your right, please, Inga Gibson, Laurie Buchanan, Melva Ayla, Nathan Ewan, and Walter Riddy. And to the microphone on your left, Dean Sensui, Justin Tanioka, Paul Dalzell, Josh DeMello, and Eric Kingma.
Aloha, mai kako. Oh, am I on here? Hello? There we go. Okay. Aloha, Inga Gibson. I'm the Hawaii State Director with the Humane Society United States in strong support of the proposal. Thank you so much for this opportunity, especially Senator Hirono, Senator Schott's office, and Senator Akaka and our state legislatures that is here today. This is an amazing opportunity. More than 7,000 marine species in and around the monument, some, as you know, found nowhere else in the world. This is an opportunity not only for Hawaii to set a legacy, and of course President Obama, but really to set an example for the rest of the country. I have with me some of the stats regarding the bycatch reports. I know that's come up repeatedly. Just so people have an idea of the impact of the longline fishery here in and around Hawaii. 133 marine mammals in the last 3 years. We still have almost 1,400 seabirds victim in the last 3 years. 240 sea turtles in the last 3 years, and last and definitely not least, more than 10,000 sharks almost every year, excuse me, fall victim to bycatch. You know, I am here on behalf of the Humane Society because we must be the voice for the animals, those that cannot speak. These are the victims of this fishery. This is not local sustainable fisheries. This is not Pono fisheries that we see here in and around Hawaii. These are the animal victims of commercial longlining. We need to do everything we can right now to combat the effects on these threatened and endangered species, combating climate change. Scientists have said we need to protect at least 30% of our oceans. Right now, we're less than 5%. This is not a sustainable fishery for a lot of reasons, and we need to be the voice for these animals and do the right thing and expand Papahanau Mokuakea. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Dean Sensui. I produce a show called Hawaii Goes Fishing. It's a fishing show that's dedicated to the community and the fishermen of Hawaii. I'd like to say that I'm in full support of keeping the ocean surrounding the Papahanau Mokuakea monument open for Hawaii's fishermen. All the exploration done up to this point has shown how pristine that area is, which means that the current level of fishing activity is doing no perceptible harm whatsoever, and at 2% of the total Big Eye harvest, it's hardly making a dent in the total tuna stocks of the Pacific. This area is a public resource which hundreds of thousands of Hawaii residents depend upon. It should not be taken away by the stroke of a pen or have its fate determined by just a few individuals who aren't considering the full weight of the consequences. And Hawaiians need to understand that when the Papahanau Mokuakea monument was established, their gathering rights were curtailed. To require the consumption of what's caught, where it's caught, is not customary gathering and sharing. That deprives those who are physically incapable of going there from enjoying the bounty of that harvest from their own land. It's an unjust mockery of Hawaiian rights. And all these arguments about what Westpac does, about what the Longline Fleet does, and what preservationists want to do, what's being forgotten or left out of consideration is that the fish doesn't simply transform into cash and evaporate into thin air. It feeds the people of Hawaii. It's a critically important food source and one of the few local sources of protein. The demand for that fish is so high that every last bit of what's brought in, up to 50 tons daily, is off the auction floor and headed to the market by midday. And even with that, even more has to be imported. This is not about what fishermen earn. It's not about boats or what Westpac does to ensure sustainable access to that fish. It's about food. And of every single resident who eats poke, sashimi, fish tacos, or any kind of seafood whatsoever, they're among those responsible for the reasons why fishermen head out to sea to satisfy that massive demand for fresh fish. You want Hawaii to be more self-sufficient? You care about Hawaii's food security? Then let's protect our access to that huge section of ocean upon which all of us depend. Thank you.
Aloha. My name is Melva Isla. I reside in the Moku of Waianae. I am in strong support for the expansion of the Papahanaumokuakea Marine National Monument. The expansion of Papahanaumokuakea is the common sense thing to do. While we are going through climate change every day, Hawaii needs to take the lead and show the world that we are committing to the protection of our resources and doing our share of caring for our earth. Hokulea is on a worldwide voyage. She is making history right now, traveling thousands of miles away from home and spreading the message of aloha and malama honua. All of her efforts, perseverance, and determination cannot be ignored. We have an opportunity right now of being proactive rather than reactive. Let's do the right thing for future generations. Let's persuade President Obama to designate Papahanaumokuakea as the largest marine reserve in the world. Mahalo.
Hi, Justin from Tanioka Seafoods and Catering here in Waipahu. I guess I'm speaking on a business side, small business. You know, we've been buying from the auction, the United Fishing Agency, for 38 years. We have a great relationship with them. We probably bought from all of the fishermen that are here. And, you know, we want you to consider our employees also for our small business. We have 140 employees, their families, you know, and local tuna has been a part of our family and our company and for all our customers and for 38 plus years. And we just hope you take that into consideration as a small business here in Hawaii. Thank you.
Aloha. My name is Walter Riddy from the island of Molokai. I am a Hawaiian activist, a hunter, a fish pond operator, shoreline gatherer, a farmer, a husband, and a great-great-grandfather. I've spent most of my life protecting and enhancing Hawaii's natural resources under the banners of Aloha Aina and Malama Haloa. I've concentrated my efforts in the main Hawaiian Islands, which is where the main problems are, as much of our natural resources are now at their tipping points of extinction. I would not have jumped on a plane to fly here from Molokai and get a hotel room if it wasn't for the statement made by our former governors and senator that criticized the intrusion of the federal government into the state of Hawaii's jurisdiction. Given the dire environmental situation we find ourselves in today, I am appalled that the state of Hawaii, who has consistently cut the budget of the Department of Land and Natural Resources year after year, and left Hawaiians and their state constitutionally protected subsistence resources in a dangerous tipping point of extinction, can now refuse help from the federal government. The state did the same thing when they turned down the federal plan to expand the whale sanctuary to an ecosystem-based sanctuary earlier this year due to jurisdictional concerns. As a Hawaiian subsistence practitioner whose rights are protected by Article 12, Section 7 of our state constitution, I am more than disappointed in the efforts of the state of Hawaii in their obligations to manage and protect our subsistence resources. If our state leaders are going to continue their opposition to federal help in the management of our precious natural resources in Papahanaumoku and the main Hawaiian Islands, then our kuleana tuhaloa and our future generations, as Hawaiians, will be to increase the efforts to eliminate the state of Hawaii and the federal government and the restoration of the Kingdom of Hawaii. Thank you.
Hi, aloha. You can tell by my voice I'm not American. But in 2009, my wife and I became United States citizens. This meant that we had to study a lot of documents like the US Constitution. We've probably forgotten more than most people in this room have learned about the Constitution. But the point about the Constitution is it emphasizes that laws and policies for the US are made by the people, for the people. And this is not the case with monument expansion. I've gone through several of these as a senior scientist with the Western Pacific Fishery Management Council. And in all cases, there's been a strong push coming from environmental organizations such as the Pew Charitable Trust, which have a huge resource driven by petrodollars. To me, the fact that all of the great monuments are in the Western Pacific is not a great benefit for conservation, but simply an act of bullying using the Antiquities Act. You'll find none of them in the East Coast. Why is that? There's too many senators and congressmen that will be opposed. What's worse, and you can read our forensic dissection of the documents supporting the monument, that there will be no conservation benefit. And here we are in Hawaii, the most oceanic state in the Union, that is proposing to shut down 60% of its waters. Would Kansas put aside 60% of its land and abolish wheat production? Would we abolish hunting and fishing in most of Alaska? I think not. People talking about future generations will think of it. What are future generations going to thank us for when all they can do is fish in a little bit of water around the main Hawaiian Islands? Thank you.
Aloha. My name is Laurie Buchanan. I am also another one that caught a plane from Molokai to be here to testify because it was very important. I'm here tonight to testify, and I wanted to thank President Obama, because I am one of the Kanaka who asking the president for help. I'm a mother of 8 from the island of Molokai, and I need help. I need help because I live a subsistence lifestyle on the island of Molokai. I feed my children that way. My grandchildren are fed that way. And if it seems selfish to everybody in this room, that's my job. My job is to feed my family. My job as a Hawaiian is also to protect my resources. Papahanaumoku Akea is my responsibility. My ocean is my responsibility. That's my kuleana, not Noah, not Westpac, not anybody's, but mine as a Hawaiian. So I take my responsibility seriously. I live my life, and I'm blessed to live in Hawaii and born a Hawaiian. But every day my life is filled with strife and hard times. I need to protect my resources throughout the whole world. So I'm going to take responsibility, and I'm going to look the other way. And I'm just asking everybody in the state of Hawaii, U.S. mainland, in the world, and all of you to please help me in doing that. Mahalo.
Aloha, my name is Joshua DeMello, and I am a fishery analyst with the Western Pacific Regional Fishery Management Council. I'm opposed to the expansion of Papahanaumoku Akea Marine National Monument and would rather like to see a more inclusive and transparent process for increasing any necessary science-based protections for the area. There are many points that still need to be discussed and many more voices that still need to be included. Contrary to what others have said, the rush to expand Papahanaumokuakea has been divisive in the community, and many of the facts involved in this issue have not been presented. To say it is not divisive is disrespectful to all of these folks in yellow shirts behind me. I would like to take this time to provide some info about this area that would add to this conversation on why the expansion is not needed. One of the concerns has been threats to coral reefs, seamounts, pelagic areas, and abyssal seabed communities. It is a fact that in this area, fishing activity occurs in the top surface layer of the water column and not the seabed, and destructive fishing practices have been prohibited since 1986. Deepwater trawling, bottom-set gill nets, tangle nets, and other destructive fishing gear has been prohibited in the U.S. EEZ around Hawaii since 1986 through action of the Western Pacific Regional Fishery Management Council under the authority of the Magnuson-Stevens Fishery Conservation and Management Act. The Council has also put a moratorium on the harvest of gold coral and other protective measures in the proposed area. There is no fishing activity posing a threat to seamounts in the expansion area, and further, the only fishery currently operating in the U.S. EEZ around the northwestern Hawaiian Islands is the Hawaii longline fishery, which does not pose a threat to reefs or deep-sea habitat. The deepest hook set is much shallower than 99% of the benthic habitat in the proposed expansion area of the northwest Hawaiian Islands. Any claims that fishing represents a threat to hermotypic or deep-sea corals are entirely spurious. In conclusion, the expanded area is in very deep waters that will not be afforded any further protection from fishing. Existing protections already exist for the proposed area that prohibit bottom tending gear and provide protection to deep resources. It is imperative that our president is aware of these facts and that instead of rushing to continue to divide the community, provides a more open, transparent process that can better inform him and unite the community prior to any action being taken. Mahalo for providing the opportunity.
Hello, Mike Kako. My name is Eric Kingma. I work for the Western Pacific Fishery Management Council. I'm the International Fisheries Enforcement and NEPA Coordinator for the Council. So monument expansion will not conserve pelagic resources. Ms. Clark showed the map over there, the spaghetti map showing seabird movements. The same goes for any highly mobile pelagic resource. They're moving in and out of the exclusive economic zone where they face a number of threats. So conserving pelagic resources needs international management. And one that studies this on a daily basis, the Hawaii longline fishery is a model for international management. The way we conserve seabirds is through trying and testing mitigation measures that we can then transfer to international fleets and other mitigation measures. So in order to conserve tunas and other highly migratory species, we need a strong U.S. fishery. With respect to tunas in the northwestern Hawaiian Islands, in the area of the monument expansion proposal, there's only a very, very small amount of tuna that's being caught there. You're not going to conserve tuna by expanding this area. Big-eye tuna, they don't spawn in the northwestern Hawaiian Islands. They don't spawn in the Hawaii archipelago. 90% of big-eye is caught, as well as yellowfin, in the equatorial Pacific. Our quota that we were talking about earlier today is only a small fraction of that 90%, and the amount of tuna that's in the northwestern Hawaiian Islands is a small fraction of that fraction. So we're not conserving tuna by doing this. With respect to enforcement, we're not going to get any more enforcement out of this. The U.S. Coast Guard is not going to get any more resources. Then on a personal note, I do want to provide this, is that I live in Kailua, Oahu. I'm married into a native Hawaiian family from a long line of commercial fishermen, subsistence fishermen. My family, we believe in aloha aina, malama aina, aipono. Fishing is food, it's nutrition. We need more fish. We need fish and poi and not spam and rice. Mahalo.
All right, the next five on either side, please. To the microphone on your left, Charles Ka'ai, Neil Kanemoto, Sylvia Spalding, Shad Kane, and Peter Apo. And to the microphone on your right, Bianca Ragin, Kahi Picaro, Richard Pyle, Keone Kuoha, and Susan Ritchie.
Okay, I guess I should start. I'm Charles Ka'ai. I'm the Indigenous Program Coordinator for the Western Pacific Regional Fishery Management Council. And you have my written comments. I turned them in. What I would like to talk about mostly, though, is the process about how we arrived here. Over 10 years ago, a bunch of us, a lot of us in this room, went around the islands on the sanctuary process. And we talked about initiatives and regulations about managing the resources in the northwestern Hawaiian Islands. And this was the 50-mile protective, this was an overlay of a 50-mile protective zone that was created by the Western Pacific Regional Fishery Management Council. As we went over the islands, the big hassle came between the proponents of fishing and the proponents of not allowing fishing. Pretty much the same thing, yeah? And so President Bush came in and used the Antiquities Act to put a monument over the sanctuary process, over the protected species overlay, over everything. And I think that's an inappropriate use of the sanctuary process, that the rules that exist in that monument today came out of that sanctuary process. Before the establishment of the monument, traditional access, Native Hawaiians seeking to access their traditional fishing grounds in the northwestern Hawaiian Islands, was unrestricted. And there was no evidence that this was threatening any of the fish stocks or resources in the area. I know that there is a statement that no Native Hawaiian request for access has been denied. The truth is that at least one Native Hawaiian access was granted as an educational permit, and another was granted as a research permit. So it's not up to a federal bureaucracy to determine for us what are traditional rights and practices. And that's what happens. So this is an impact, this is an imposition, alienation of traditional resources from the Native community in Hawaii. Thank you.
Aloha mai. My name is Shad Kane, and I support the expansion of Papahanaumokuakea. I consider myself a practitioner of Hawaiian culture. I am a gatherer of bird feathers and the builder of feather na kahili. I made the 2 kahili in the throne room of Iolani Palace from the feathers of the moli, the lay sand albatross, with the assistance of the Cultural Working Group, which is a partnership out of OHA, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and NOAA. I made the 2 kahilis at Queen Emma Summer Palace from the feathers of the moli on Midway Island. I've made in excess of some 60 kahili today that are in state buildings, libraries, hotels, and private collections. I am a kiamanu, a gatherer of seabird feathers from Papahanaumokuakea. In 2011, I had the privilege of traveling to Pihemanu, Midway, to gather feathers from seabirds toward the construction of 2 feather kahilis for the Queen Emma Summer Palace. We arrived in the evening and it was already dark. On the ride from the airport to our sleeping quarters, we were surprised at the numbers of dead birds that laid alongside the road. In the week that we spent on Midway, I learned of the impact that the discarded fishing trash had to do with the death of so many birds on Midway. One cannot imagine how many fishing trash is on that island. There are fishing trash on every shoreline and beach. It appeared to me that no effort is made by the fishing industry in an effort to retrieve lost nets, long lines, buoys, and hooks that get loose. Some of the decomposed birds had fishing trash and other plastics in their decomposed bodies. Unsuspecting parents of young nesting birds pick up the fishing trash and return to Midway to regurgitate these plastics into the mouth of their waiting and hungry young birds. In the week that we spent on Midway, we came to be familiar with several young nesting birds in the area where we were living. We did not see a single parent bird come back to feed their young. The question in all our minds is, where were these birds flying to find fish to feed their young? But the question is, why so far away? On one of the last days on Pihimanu, we all were provided with a trip to the outer fringe reef to do some diving and snorkeling. It was a distance from the island, so we were all expecting to see a lot of fish. There were none but a few tropical fish. Our islands are defined not just in terms of the land or aina, but also the birds of the seas. The high-flying Iwa koaikea, white tropic seabird, the ko'ai'ula, red tropic seabird, and the moli, Laysan albatross. These were the birds whose feathers were reserved for the highest-ranking chiefs because of the elevations they flew at, the distances they flew. They carried the greatest mana because they were known to fly in the realm of wakea. But there was also the fish of the sea in the waters of Kanaloa. We were once known as a people who knew how to take care. We speak of malama as if it is a word. In our ancient past, fishing was regulated by laws and couples. Most of our ancient laws of couples were based on conservation. There are penalties for taking the wrong fish at the wrong time of the year. There were penalties for taking small young fish. Penalties were swift and severe. Considering all the conservation laws, they did not starve, but they thrived. Sadly, I do not know if we are the same people as our ancestors. I'm hoping we have done what we have done to these islands we live on, we will not do to the northern islands. Much like our ancient past, fishing has to be regulated. If it has to be done by the expansion of Papahanaumokuakea, so let it be. I hope we all can find it in our hearts to support the expansion of Papahanaumokuakea, if not for us, at least for our children. Mahalo.
Hi, I'm Neil Kanimoto. I'm a local fisherman. And first of all, I'd like to say, I just pray that this is not a vendetta against the fishermen just to kick them out, an excuse just to kick them out of our EEZ. Okay, I pray it's not that. Okay, and I'm glad there's a lot of young people over here. Cause bear with me, please, cause I think I need to give a visual perspective. Okay, I'm a black coral now, yeah, and you guys can see me. No, you know why? Cause I'm 5 miles down, yeah. And the only reason you guys can hear me, not because we know a mouse, but I get one microphone, but we're 5 miles down, me and the sponges, so we cannot even make shaka to the longline boats, the guys that fish. So they're not a threat to us. And it's not because we know more arms cannot make shaka, it's because they're 5 miles up. They're so far away, they're not a threat. So that kind of takes care of that argument. Second, I heard arguments about, oh, we overfishing, yada, yada. Okay, Noah Fisheries, Noah, good job, Noah, great job. They released a report recently. The fisheries is in good or great condition. Awesome. So why are we punishing the fishermen by trying to push them out? Okay, this is our EEZ. We catch fish. We bring food to the community. Okay, we support jobs. We support the economy. Okay, the other thing, what a lot of people don't know, or they know but they don't realize, never sink in yet, is these commercial fishermen, when we lost the Northwest Hawaiian Islands, there was a group of boats, a small group of boats that helped protect the honu, the monk seals. What they did was they brought back all the nets before it got onto the reefs and killed monk seals, nets. Number 3 threat to them. And these guys used to bring them down. They're cut out now. Now, you guys like kick out the other fishermen. We volunteer to take those nets to the trash bin, me and my coworkers. You guys got to give us some incentive to keep volunteering, because it's just volunteering. We want to help save and preserve, but not if this goes in this kind of manner. Thank you.
Aloha, my name is Bianca. I'm from the island of Maui, and I've worked with a lot of teenagers in conservation, and I've really seen the impact that conservation sites have had on our youth and how they perceive the world and grow into adults and become active citizens in our world and in our communities. And I know that a lot of the conservation sites that we work at, which is around 7 or 8 throughout the summers, we do 6-week program, camping at different conservation sites and protected areas, that didn't just land in our hands. I know it was fought for us by our kupuna. So I wanted to say that I'm in support of this monument, not for us and just for future generations. So thank you.
Hello, I'm Sylvia Spalding. I'm opposed to the monument expansion. I'm going to cover 3 points. First, unfunded mandates and unfulfilled promises. Under the authority of the Antiquities Acts, presidents have proclaimed and expanded marine national monuments, but the proclamations do not result in more money available for management or enforcement. Senator Schatz recognizes this when he suggests funding commitments for research, conservation, and management for the proposed expansion would come from government managers, philanthropic organizations, and individuals. However, there's no guarantee that these funds will materialize, and in fact, in past monuments, promises that were promised were unfulfilled and indicate they won't occur also in this expansion. When the Marianas Monument was proposed, the White House and the Pew Charitable Trust promised the government of the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands that a monument visitor center would be constructed, that the monument would bring $15 million in revenue, $5 million in tax revenue, and generate 400 jobs. None of that has materialized. And after 8 years, there's no management plan. The Commonwealth does not have authority over 0 to 3 miles around the island's unit, let alone promised co-management in the offshore waters. Likewise, more money for enforcements when the president expanded the Pacific Remote Islands Monument has not materialized. There's claims made that the monument expansion would help with climate change. However, the northwestern Hawaiian Islands and surrounding waters are situated within a nutrient-impoverished North Pacific subtropical gyre. Carbon sequestration in this area is restricted by relatively low primary production and smaller phytoplankton. Claims that restricted fishing in the northwestern Hawaiian Islands surface waters will somehow increase carbon sequestration are unsubstantiated. The claims are based on a study on how predators within vegetated coastal ecosystems cycle. Empirical evidence supporting that these findings would transfer to deep ocean environments does not exist. And even if these findings were applicable to the open ocean ecosystem, the targeted tuna and billfish and common bycatch species are highly migratory and could be caught outside the closed area. If predatory fish catch remains constant, then there would be no top-down influence on carbon sequestration. Instead, the closure would force fishermen to fish further from shore, and that would actually increase greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Lastly, the lack of transparency. The expansion of the monument is promoted as a community-driven movement. However, it is the Pew that is orchestrating and funding this, as it has all the other 4 monuments and the expansions. This monument, I belong on the board of the Hawaii Interfaith Power and Light. They got a call from the National Interfaith Power and Light to say, sign the petition, bring your people out to promote this expansion. No discussion on what were the pros and cons. Likewise, educators have been told, get your teachers and their students to sign the petition to expand the monument. The pros and the cons weren't given to the students. The students weren't told to look at the sources of the information. They were just told, sign this petition. And as a former educator, that is appalling. Finally, in the past few days, I have heard from several people on Kauai and Oahu that they are being threatened by pro-monument people that their livelihoods, their funding, and their community efforts will be jeopardized. Is this really the public process that should be used to manage Hawaii's natural resources and ensure food security for its people? Thank you.
Aloha.